Hey fam, hey fam, hey fam. Thank you for joining us on Vow Sex and Housekeeping. I'm Damon
I'm
Rich,
Tamika Rich.
and we are so glad that you're here with us today. Listen,
Welcome.
we just want to talk about just marriage, our own journey
Mm.
over the years, 24 years, rolling up on 25, God say the same. And kind of some of that, and then what we're learning about what a godly marriage actually looks like. I know we
Mhm.
talked about Proverbs 31 last week, so we're going to get into it right after this.
Vows, sex, and housekeeping. Join the conversation. This is what you need, and let's go.
All
Let's
right.
go.
All right. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. So we are going to, let me see, share to us page. Let's see where we at. Nope. Change the page. Um, yeah, I tell you, this solo production stuff is a challenge. We're gonna get our production team on board and what we got to do, get everybody paid and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
yeah, honey, just kind of we've been doing this for 24 freaking years.
Okay.
We've been doing this for 24
Need to get
years.
that right. We have.
Oh my goodness.
Does it seem like it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just checking.
I'm not finna give none of those little fruitsy poopsy answers of like, oh no, it don't even seem like it's been no, it seems like it's been 24 years. It does and it doesn't. It
Right.
does in that like that 24 years past we have some markers, obviously
Mhm.
kids and different things, and we know when we got married. We can still remember that. That kind
Can
of
we?
thing.
Can we?
But then we, but so that's the it does, but then it doesn't because it seems like it's flown by so long. It just like it's just yesterday. I can remember when I didn't have all this winter insulation
Oh, okay. I was about
and
to
getting
say.
married with you, getting married to you, and then you fattening me up. So, but yeah, I didn't have as much gray.
Oh, I know, right?
Girl, don't even. I ain't have as much gray. I ain't have as much gray in my beard. Yeah, it's been 24 years. It's been 24 years. And a lot we have learned. I wish I put a post out the other day,
Mhm.
and my post was, and I think this is, and maybe people won't get it, maybe they will, is I'm glad I did not, that I was not a perfect husband,
Mhm.
because then I would not have become a godly husband.
Mm.
Right. And I hadn't had anyone question me on that. So I'm taking it that people are like, either like, A, this man crazy, or B, they understood it, or
Mhm.
C, they were afraid to ask what I meant by that.
Right.
And for me, I want to explain that a little bit as far as like being a perfect husband preventing me from becoming a godly husband. Because I think had I been the perfect husband, to me, that means I would have very much fit a world view of what a perfect husband is. And so there would have been a lot
Mhm.
of things that I did that looked great on the outside, but lacked internal substance.
Mhm.
I would have potentially become a check the box husband,
Right.
right? But becoming a godly husband required me to face my own frailties and shortcomings as a husband and not hide from them,
That's good.
right?
Mhm.
And not hide from them. I would have definitely liked to become that godly husband with a few less bumps and bruises, right? To be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But I am so glad at the husband that I am becoming because I still haven't arrived. I still don't think in 24 years I've been the best husband that I can be from a God perspective. So that's kind of been that journey for me for 24 years. And I'm trying to think of when I started to understand the difference. Trying to think of that. I think I know around about when, but
You do?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I know when I start to realize the difference between the two. Because coming up, and me and a good friend are working on a joint book together. I won't even get into it. I ain't even told you about it. So it once we get a first draft in, we got to let our wives.
24 years and you didn't even tell me this.
Yeah,
What,
we got to let our wives.
What we doing?
Well, we got to let our wives read it, but we want to put it together, and we're actually making a section for our wives to write some things in the book. So we want to get y'all's true commentary inside the book so that if there are wives who pick this book up, they're not just listening to two husbands drawn on, they get some perspective about what we're going to share in the book so that it balances it. And it may be that we have one perspective and the wife perspective is completely different, which is great.
Right.
Because we want it to be a book that sparks conversation between husband and wife, and those who are considering it. So, yeah. So, dang it. Now I got to call him because I just had another idea. So I would say probably around year 10 or 11 is where I started to realize there's a different shift to becoming a godly husband. Than being the perfect husband, because you will get frustrated trying to be the perfect husband.
I'm glad you said that. That's good, because a lot of times what happens is we have our own perspective of husband and wife, and now that you talk about godly and us getting really back to that marriage that God intended and what does it look like, starting from there and doing it His way and not our way, and taking our perspective to Him so He can always give us back His perspective.
Yes.
And so a lot of times that's what was missing for me, because it's like, oh, I have this perception or perspective of expectation of what it should be and what it should look like and how I should go about it, without really asking God, and to accept like His perspective and His answer and go from there.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. And I before somebody say she started talking and he was ignoring her. No, I'm asking my daughter to make sure our sound levels are sounding right. So,
okay.
Yeah. So,
well, I didn't think that. So over 24 years, I learned a little something.
You learned a little something about your husband.
Okay.
And who I am and what I'm about. And that's what I basically told somebody. You know how long we've been married? So my wife knows I'm not ignoring her. All of a sudden, I don't care about your perspective is what they said. It's like, and when she started talking, you didn't even care about the perspective. You picked up the phone. Right. I'm like, hey, you don't realize that we're producing this solo. We hadn't reached that. I know it's a lot of polish to it and it looked good. I'm thanking you, but we're doing a lot of solo stuff. So.
And I'm trying to think back now that you said that somebody said that, and people have their opinions, but usually that would have come from a broken place. Yeah. If I ever thought that, and maybe not in that instance, but somewhere along the line, if you were actually doing that or fumbling with your phone or doing something, right. Maybe me thinking that. In this setting, no, because I know what we do and the production and what all it takes, right. And that you're the techie person. I'm not me, because it would probably be me doing this if I was the techie person. Yeah, and you weren't doing that. So understanding that, but a lot of times, those answers and things and perspectives and opinions from other people come from a place of brokenness. Yeah, in them.
Yeah.
that's how they would respond,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And so just checking it because I wouldn't, you
Yeah.
know? So every area that I would, you know, for me growing in this thing, to act a certain way or not consult God first before I act a certain way, or check myself, maybe so a response like that, you know, or a reaction.
Right.
Mhm.
And I think even brokenness, but also history, right?
Mhm.
So if someone has lack of history with each other and they haven't really learned their
Mhm.
spouse to know,
Mhm.
then because I think one of the things that
True.
I try to get better at, or I'm doing better, is like when I know it's something that you really want to engage me on, I'll say, hold on a minute, babe, let me finish this so
Mhm.
that I can give that undivided attention, right?
Mhm.
But when I know it's just you kind of unloading and giving me or whatever, and you don't have an expectation that I'm fully dialed in or
Mhm.
whatever, that might be a different thing or whatever, and learning
Mhm.
that. But when because part of it is hearing like keywords and I'm listening and I'm like, oh, okay, this, that, and the third.
Mhm.
And then I'm like, oh, that's a keyword. Hold on, babe. Hold on. You said something that
Right.
I need to pay attention and I want to, respond to or whatever. So,
Mhm. So for me to be considerate in that area, we did have to learn because a lot of times he could say back if I felt like he wasn't paying attention or hearing me or whatever, and you go like, "What did I just say?" And
uh-huh.
then he'll roll it back or whatever. That's like, "Oh, okay, he heard me," but then were you listening? And then from there, having the conversation, and I think for a long time it took a minute to have that conversation to build up because of whatever in here,
Mhm.
not working on me, where that did build up some resentment or
Right.
something. So instead of just communicating, hey, babe, you know, if you could be considerate enough to like, you know, look me in the eye or let me know until we get to a place. Because when you're working on your individual self, now I'm to a place where I can go, oh, if you're not, I know
Mhm.
you're still listening. And if I need you to, or I feel like I want you to, like here,
Right.
then I'll just communicate it
Right.
so you can understand the words that are coming out of my mouth.
That's
It's like
it.
we say.
That's it.
Yeah,
But see, that takes maturity.
it does.
That takes a level of maturity, because you as a woman, you or a man, right? You have to make sure that, hey, that you're communicating and not just expect that someone picked up on your body language or
Mm-hmm.
your nonverbal cues or whatever, and then all of a sudden it's like you ain't paying me no attention. Like you just assume something, right? Because
Yeah.
there's times I can be in the room doing something or in the office doing, you're just charged in, you start talking, and it's like, hold on, babe, hold on, let me finish, because that's equally inconsiderate and I could
Yeah.
easily get offended by it. But I
Right.
was like, hold on, because you might not have known I was in the
In the
middle of
middle of
something.
something.
So
Right.
it's like, hold on, babe, hold on, give me just a minute, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and do that kind of thing. So it happens,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I think a lot of times we don't understand it or we don't give grace and space for each other and really take that kind of stuff into account,
Mm-hmm.
because all of that's important.
It is. And taking it into account, thinking about it, getting there, and a lot of times working on our individual selves and everything that comes. Because a lot of time when it is an offense or resentment starts to build or whatever, it's lack of communication or something that's gone on in here that I've
Hmm.
never expressed, known how to express, or even known it was there, and
Hmm.
it brushed up against it,
Hmm.
you know. And
Yeah.
so I'm taking something that was meant for someone else or something that hurt me down the road sometime, you know, or
Yeah.
when I was younger, and bringing it to this and then going, oh, it's the same thing or the same situation, or I feel this way now, or I felt that way then and I didn't express it, so now I feel this way and this is how I'm going to express it,
Right.
or I'm not going to express it at all and continue to let resentment and bitterness and whatever else build up.
Right. Right. And that is something that, oh man, I want to get to a place where we can definitely, I like the way Tim Ross says it. I want to reach that place. I think we offer our people a lot of our transparency when
Hmm.
we're on air. but I want to get to where we can offer people the gift of our vulnerability. That's his word. And I like that, the gift of the vulnerability, because there's more around just even that topic right there. But I do feel like we're at a place where I can say it this way, is we always use the credit card analogy. And I feel like there are things that each of us have made the other pay for that we didn't charge. And like you, when you said brush up, that's my thing. It's like sometimes your spouse didn't cause the original wound. They brushed up against a scar you already had.
Right.
And because they brushed up against a scar you already had, you respond to them as if they caused the original wound. And so when they see that reaction, they feel like, oh my goodness, you're overreacting. To you, you're not overreacting because you're reacting your original reaction from the original scar. But for your spouse who has no idea that they just brushed up against that scar, you are overreacting because they're saying, what I did does not equate to your reaction, right? And here's the thing, like growing emotionally mature, one of the things that I am learning, right, is the difference between responding and reacting, right? I think I have gotten to the place like I can deal with a response. I don't do well with reactions, right? And when people think about that, when I was processing it, and there's times when you should react. And this is what I mean. I want to paint a clear picture, right? If when you should react, and this is what I mean. We had a time where there was a real small corn snake somehow made it in the house, right? And we was coming in the house and it's dark and we turned on light, like, what is that? And then it looked like a piece of string, then a piece of string moved. Like, you jump. That's the time to react because you don't know what type of snake it is. You need to put some distance where you can then properly respond, right?
Right.
But then the other night, there was a, probably 2-3 foot oak snake in the yard. And DJ got out, right? He would react, but by the time he got to me, I could respond. And my response was measured based off of, oh, I love this. My response was based off of the level of danger that was present. Now, before, and even though I knew this when I grew up as a Boy Scout, before I went out there or whatever, I would have chopped his head off. A snake is a snake, right? Chop his head off. But not all snakes are created equal. So not all snakes are dangerous, right? And that particular snake, it was an oak snake, rat snake, oak snake, whatever. It was there. They keep things like mice and certain things from around your house or whatever. You know what? I ain't gonna touch him. I'm gonna leave him alone, right? He gonna go scurry off somewhere. As long as he don't make it in the house, he get to live. He come in the house, things change. So I got a chance to adjust my response based off of what was there. Now, if I were reacting without getting a chance, like it was too close to me where I can't respond and I react, then yeah, your head might come off because I gotta react because I don't know if you're dangerous or not. Right. And just for the people, just want to look in this camera and say, if you see a snake, it might look like it's a black snake. They get pretty big. But just double check if it's not a blue indigo snake, which we do have in Florida. Blue indigo snakes, much like king snakes, will kill and eat. They hunt poisonous snakes. So if you ever see a blue indigo snake around the house, leave it be. Okay. That was your zoology moment.
I don't want to see no snakes.
Foul sex and housekeeping. Yeah, I prefer not to see the snakes. Let them do their thing, right? But I'm just looking like that. I've learned to when to react, when to respond, but I try to respond more than I react. That's again one of those godly things. God, there is nowhere in the Bible where God ever reacts. Humans react, God just responds.
That's good.
He responds.
He does.
Yeah. So, but I think like over that time of brushing up and until you and I would definitely encourage marriages. But I think like make sure your spouse isn't paying the price for wounds that they didn't cause. And I would definitely encourage give them. We always say give them their full credit limit. Make sure your spouse isn't paying the price for wounds. Just make sure they're not responding to. They're not paying for wounds they didn't cause.
Right. And then how do you do that?
Just make sure they're not. How do you make sure?
Yeah.
They're not paying.
No, I know. I'm just saying, how do you? Because I'm going to say, how do you make sure?
Go ahead, tell the people.
Because it goes back to yourself and your individual journey.
Go ahead, tell people.
And so we talk about counseling or therapy or coaching or whatever it is, communicating and talking, or therapy or healing. Pretty much.
Give me a T. You got that T. You got that T.
Healing,
give me an H.
Because a lot of times, sometimes you don't even realize it.
Yeah.
But then when it comes up and you are aware, then you're like, oh, here's another area I need to work on. Yeah. And a lot of times we have work to do, period. So if you go somewhere to talk to somebody and start a coaching, therapy, counsel session, whatever it is, there's plenty of stuff in there.
Yeah.
But we all need it.
Yeah. Therapy is a very important in many communities. It is very taboo. Mm-hmm. Shout out to my Caucasian brothers and sisters because they are not afraid to go to therapy, right? But us as people of color, because of stigmas that come along with therapy, the what happens in our house stays in our house mentality doesn't allow us to go and seek the help that we need. That God put people here that are gifted to walk you through therapy.
Right.
One of the things that I'm very thankful for of God just in my life through a particular tough stretch, not just in marriage, but just in my life, that God, and I don't want anyone to hear this and take it as, see, I don't need to go to no therapist, because I have absolutely gone to therapy before, but that God has been a great therapist for me. But you have to know the prayers to pray to give him access, right? And sometimes the prayer to pray isn't this complex thing. My prayer is, God, show me the areas where I am unhealed, right? And what has happened for me in those moments is he brings it out subtly. And it's almost like Nathan and David, where he's showing me something in natural life, an event I'm going through or dealing with, or someone I'm talking to, and maybe I'm coaching them through something. And then I have that aha moment. He says, yep, that's you too.
Right.
And it's like, what?
And I think two things. One, as African Americans, we are doing a lot better with that.
Yes,
this day and age. And two, even if you decide not to go, you need someone to, and even if God is that therapist for you and you're getting healed, that way you still need someone to bounce something off of. If you don't necessarily go to a therapist or a counselor or coaches are really good too.
Coaches
a lot of times, unless you need something beyond that. But just the individual.
But I like
individual to bounce stuff off of.
Someone with wisdom, right?
Yeah.
So when you look at the Bible, the therapists were a lot of times the younger women could turn to the older women, the younger men could turn to the older men or whatever. The therapists were the prophets and the preachers and those type of things. They were played those roles because they were tied and connected to God and they could give them insight, right? I was thinking about something the other day. I was talking with a family member very close to me, and we were just talking about some stuff, and I was telling him about when we had done some lessons on different marriages in the Bible and how we talked about the marriage of Ahab and Jezebel. Now, church folks, you can go on and pull out your pouch of stones if you like and get ready to stone me on this, but we took a human look at Jezebel. And I want to kind of revisit that human look because I think that maybe it helps some people in their marriage, particularly some men who maybe your wife mirrors Jezebel. And when I say mirrors Jezebel, let me paint a picture for you.
Mm-hmm.
She is aggressive, right? She is very vicious. Jezebel was to be feared, right? She is aggressive. She is vicious. She almost carries a very very present dominant masculine energy,
I was gonna say masculine
right?
energy.
She totes all of that. She is fearless, but fearless in a reckless way,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah, your phone right there by you, baby.
No, I was like, you trying to
Yeah,
cut the
but
watch off.
she has a lot of going on. But let's look at what some of the things that theologians say about Jezebel. A lot of that comes from her brokenness because Jezebel, because God loved her too,
Mm-hmm.
right? God loved Jezebel too.
Right.
Hello, somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
It would have been his will for her not to perish as well.
All right.
Hello, somebody, right? But Jezebel was potentially a temple prostitute in her father's temple, right? Which means that she was basically there to perform actual sexual acts as a part of religious ceremonies, right?
Mm-hmm.
She didn't have a choice, potentially, of being a temple prostitute.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone decided they wanted to marry her. And now she went from being powerless to in a seat of power.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
We can look at Ahab, and a lot of, preachers talk about how jellyback Ahab was. She would have exactly wanted that type of man because I want someone that I can assert authority over.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because I don't want to be under a dominant man. Because when I am under dominant men, I have to give up my body to survive. What has your wife or your husband gone in to, right?
Mm-hmm.
That the version that you are married to is the version of them that is survival. It is survival, Damon, right? It is the part of me that had to be present for so many years just to survive. And I've gotten so, it's kind of like in the Avengers when the Hulk gets stuck in Hulk form, and then there's a time where he gets stuck in non-Hulk form and he can't change back to the Hulk. It's like that. Like I've been in this survival Damon for so long that I didn't even know how to bring regular Damon back out. And I always tell our kids, I say, listen, one of the most difficult people to find if you lose them is yourself. If you lose you,
for sure,
it is hard to find you. And once you find you again, don't lose you again. It's difficult.
Right. And sometimes just finding yourself. A lot of times people haven't done that.
Yeah. And sometimes people don't know that they're lost. Yeah. I didn't even know I was lost. Hey, I'm that. Right. So, I don't know. Thinking about just godly marriage,
right,
and getting to that place of what does a godly marriage look like, babe? What to you? Because there's so many definitions of marriage out there. I won't even get into the culture wars around it. But God is the originator of marriage. What does a godly marriage look like? I know we talked about Proverbs 31 last week, and some people are like, give me some other examples. What do some godly marriages look like?
What other examples of godly marriage? For me, the idea of godly marriage is doing it God's way, but it's a constant as we becoming. Going back to God on how to do it, So of course because we're not perfect, you may we have bumps and bruises along the way. But instead of dialing into doing it our way first, consulting and asking, is this what I should be doing? And is this how I should be doing it? Reading what he says about marriage, of course, and treating your spouse and lining up with that.
Right.
You know, and not taking it and trying to like, wait, let me see where I could do this right here with it and bring this word back over here. And then do I have to do that part? You know?
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, we do acrobatics with God's word on what marriage is, right?
And stop, I think, making excuses or, oh, that's outdated, or that's, this, or that's that. When you start to lay a foundation or put things out there or talk about a godly marriage from the word, oh, well, that's kind of dated, and is that what did he exactly mean? Yeah, back in the day. Because God is the same yesterday, today, and forever, you know? So his way doesn't change. Our times have changed, but if we bring it from there to this time and still do it the same, it is the same.
Yeah. And here's
I can say a little modernized, but it's still the same.
No, it is the same, because this is what gets me, particularly about believers. If you're not a believer, then, this may not apply to you. But this is what really gets me, or this doesn't apply to you. This is what gets me about believers. When it comes to, I don't know, tithing, that's not ancient. Do it. But when it comes to submission, oh, well, what is submission really? And that was different when women didn't have any rights. And hold on. Whoa. Why can I believe one ancient thing and not another? Right? And I believe that God wants to reset marriage. You've heard me say this. And when I think about God resetting marriage, I think about the perspective of before the fall, they existed in true symbiosis. They had this interdependence of each other that was about order, but not about ruling. Right? It was about order, but not about ruling. I have this role, you have this role, and our roles work together for us to produce this fruit as God has given. He gave them dominion over the earth.
Right.
The order was, I brought the man first and I brought the woman in, but they were equals, but there was order. Right? But then after the fall happened, what ended up happening was people end up, once the fall happened, what people end up doing was, or what happened was, order also included ruling. Right? Now it's a different type of ruling and dominance that happened. So now let them have dominion over the earth, not each other.
Right.
But then after the fall, it was like, now, woman, he has dominion over you as well. Right? Because he was disobedient, you were deceived. And I think that God really wants to reset marriage to where we get back to there is order, but there is not rule. There is not ruling. But that's why I love the part in Proverbs 31 where it says, the heart of her husband doeth safely trust in her.
Right.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, God. Whew. Now I'm just going to open up Proverbs 31. Let me get to Proverbs 31. What a friend we have in Jesus.
We'll sing some hymns too, right here.
All our sins and griefs to bear. What a privilege to carry. All right, Proverbs 31, picking up at verse 10, because everyone ignores Proverbs 1 through 9, which I think really doesn't help you unlock the entire Proverbs 31 if you ignore Proverbs 1 through 9.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
But I'm going to pick up at the traditional spot, Proverbs 10 or 31 and 10. Who can find a virtuous wife? For her worth is far above rubies.
Yes.
The heart of her husband safely trusts her, so he will have no lack of gain. She does him good and not evil all the days of her life.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I'm saying, oh, thank you, God, because let me tell you, when I said that,
Mm-hmm.
is he trusts her to pick the right fruit.
Mm.
He is no longer, this man in Proverbs 31 is not concerned about his wife picking fruit from the wrong tree. His heart safely trusts in her. It is a time of returning
Mm-hmm.
to that resetting of marriage, to where if she puts, so what in post fall, now Adam, I came to mad, Adam became a certified fruit inspector. Oh, what you brought in here? What we eat? What's for dinner tonight,
Right.
Eve? And hold on, let me see the ingredients.
Right.
Let
I'm
me
not
see the
eating that.
ingredients. I ain't eating
So
that.
now you don't want to eat.
Yeah, no, you don't want to eat my cooking. I sure don't. You know what happened the last time I ate your cooking 100 years ago, because they live longer than we live today.
Oh,
Do you understand what that is? Eve, yada, 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 right?
Mm-hmm.
He looking at that kind of stuff. He's like, oh, no. But this Proverbs 31 husband, his heart safely trusts in her, because she would do him good and not evil
Right.
all the days of his life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? All the days of her life. Long as she around, she gonna not do him evil.
Right.
So it's saying to me, what I heard in this when I was saying it earlier, the heart of her husband safely trusting that she, so he will lack no gain. She does him good, not evil. Is that, hey, I trust you to go to the tree again.
Mm-hmm.
I have confidence that if the snake talks, I don't even have to worry about it, because you understand your dominion and you will dress the snake accordingly.
That's good.
Right? So that was powerful.
I trust you to go to the store without me and come home with the right food, the right meal.
All of that.
And
I'm going to eat your cooking.
Stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm going to eat your cooking. I trust you not to feed me no tofu.
Right.
All of that. I trust you to do that.
You,
I don't care how you try.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I won't try to feed you that.
Yeah. I appreciate that, because I ain't going to be with no tofu.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. Why is this thing doing here? I'm trying to see if we have comments or questions.
Questions would be good.
Hey, if you have any comments, questions that you want to drop out here, feel free. I'm looking on my phone to see if I see them. Hello to everyone who is watching, has been watching with us. We appreciate you. And my Facebook is just acting a slap fool. So I don't know what anybody is saying or doing or asking. If you have a question, please drop it in the comments. We would definitely love to answer your questions. So oh my goodness, 24 years. I'm trying to keep an eye on the time. 24 years. Oh my goodness. A marriage. 24 years. I'm trying to keep an eye on the time. What's the journey been like for you as a wife? I mean, I'm talking about this journey for me. What has it been like?
A learning experience.
I mean, I'm talking about this journey.
No, it's been a journey. I've had my times where, it's been good, and and times where it's been bad, and I question this thing of being a wife and why, and and a lot of times I think that was me not surrendering and submitting to God, and having my own expectations of what it is, and perspective of what it is, and even when him giving me his perspective of it, being able to say, okay, digest it, and act accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for me, it's been learning the things and being. I do wish there are some things that I just would have known or learned sooner or earlier, but not to the point where I would hold that now to be, bitter or um, resent the journey
Mm-hmm.
so much to where, or not still in a place where, people cry over their shoulda, woulda, couldas.
Mm-hmm.
Not in that spot, but it's like, oh, okay, so yeah, let's pick it up from here. Let's hit that refresh button, marriage refresh, and let's grow
That's
together, and do a lot of things. I think was it TT Tex or somebody said a lot of times when you don't hang in there or until you get past a certain amount of years, you kind of don't hang in there until you get or throw it away sooner. You don't get to see that fruit or enjoy the fruit that is coming.
Yeah.
Not to say all of them. You don't get to see that fruit. You have to tough it out or stick it out. It depends on the circumstances or whatever. But a lot of times I think people do give up a little early or
Right.
sooner or don't do the work
Yeah.
to really make it what it should be, what it could look like,
I think that people want what's promised through marriage to come without the effort that's
the work.
required to get it.
Mhm.
I agree with you there. I agree with you
Because we can have
wholeheartedly.
the faith for it all day, but if we don't do the work,
It doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Mhm.
I was.
And I think that was a big thing for me because a lot of times, and I'll just be honest or transparent, I would go back to God and I'd be like, Lord, this is not what you promised. What is this? I can't do it. I'm not doing it. This is not what you promised. And really thinking about that and where I was and just like, oh, la da 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 da, it's just supposed to happen or it's just supposed to come. Well, if I don't do my part and he does not, if I don't do the work or let him do the work in me, I'll put it that way. If I don't let him do the work in me, I can't really get to the promise or enjoy the promise or know what the promise is even supposed to look like
Right.
from his perspective, again going back to him and not my perspective or my expectation of what this promise was, because I
Right.
knew it was one, but this is how I said it should look like,
Yeah.
or this is what I say it should look like.
Yeah. I was having a thought.
And for me to get there, I'll finish this.
Mhm.
I had some dying to do. And so when I said, Lord, I got to that place where, okay, Lord, this marriage is killing me. And he goes, I'm killing you. It's like, what? What, Lord? You talking to me? What? Well, I need to die, man. What do you mean? Because again, I was looking from my perspective. Because I think I'm a good wife. I do this and I do that and all of the things that we kind of think a wife should do or taught. But the things that he was saying that I needed, the places I needed to grow, the things I needed to get rid of, the things that you were brushing up against that I needed to be healed from in order to get to that place or get to that promise. So that was, an eye opener. And then for me, from that, I was like, oh, okay, taking that in. And then what does that look like? What do you mean? Where do I need to die? How do I need to lay this down to be that wife?
Right. It's funny when you were saying that, like, but I'm this type of wife, and I'm this, and I'm this, and I'm this. And it reminds me of when the young rich ruler talks about, I've done this, I've kept the law since my youth, and I've given my tithe, and I've done this. And Jesus, like, you've done very well. I need one more thing from you.
Right.
Okay, what is it?
Sell it
I
all.
want to sell it all and follow
And
me.
come on.
Whoa!
Right. Pretty much. That's
Wait a minute.
right.
Pump the brakes. This is stop the news, stop the presses.
Mhm.
What do we got going on here? You need more?
Mhm.
You need more from me? And man,
Right. Yeah. You need me to do some more, Lord?
yeah.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
Right. Yeah.
Listen.
Because all the things that I thought the more was that I was doing was not the things to say
Yeah.
to get me to the promise.
Listen.
the more
me
it
and
was that
me
I was
and
doing was
some of
not
the brothers
the thing
that
per se to
I
get
talk
me
with,
to
and we were able
Christ.
to get into the real conversations about marriage.
Mhm.
We have a saying that we say to each other: "Stay on the cross." Right
Mhm.
now, that sounds like a very religious, traditional, like stay on the cross. Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
staying on the cross. No, but we talk about it. We as husbands, and what that means, we talk about the process of getting on the cross and then staying on the cross. Because
Mhm.
as a husband, and I've even shared this in some of our marriage coachings,
Mhm.
that I say husband has to be the first to die. Your marriage is going to be transformed. Husband has to be the first to die. Right. Well, why do I got to die before she died? Because if I'm a Christ husband, Christ died so that the wife could be transformed. Christ died so that the wife could be cleansed.
Mhm.
Christ died so that she had the opportunity, and she may not take it, because that is the reality of sacrifice, is that your sacrifice may not be honored, but you still have to do it, because the one who is asking you to do the sacrifice,
Mhm.
the one that is asking you to do it, said you still got to get on the cross.
Right.
And so you got to get on the cross. And you got to realize that while you're on the cross, your wife might be in a place of self-righteousness. She might actually have a hammer and the nails saying, crucify him. He need to die. He need to understand some humility. He need to do this because I'm this great wife and I'm this, and that. And while she's saying all of that, you got to have a Jesus mentality, which is very, very difficult, of not saying a mumbling word. You have to get on the cross. As a husband,
Mhm.
when God was telling me to get on the cross, I'm like, what? Get on the cross? Hey, Father, you do realize that I just been beat, right? That wasn't enough. Oh, no, 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 no. The beating was just part of the process. You still got to get on the cross.
Mhm.
Hold on. Oh my goodness. And this is like the book I'm writing about, becoming a Christ husband. This imagery is just all in there, because if I look at Jesus as a natural husband,
Mhm.
and then I get into it, it's like, hold on, you the one said over in the book that says who will go for us, who will stand in the gap, and who will go for us. And you said, prepare me a body, send me, I'll go. You the one that signed up to be a husband. And now that you have signed up to be a husband, this is what being a husband looks like. Being a husband is more than turning water into wine. Being a husband is more than feeding the multitude with the five fish, the two fish, and the two fish and the one loaf of bread, or however, I can't even remember. 5 loaves
Two
of bread,
fish and
5 loaves. There it
five
is.
loaves.
I had 2 wings so I can fly. All of that. Do you know what I'm saying? Being a husband is more than walking on the water. Being a husband is more than speaking to the storm. All of those things are great. And after you do all of that, after you cast out all the demons in your marriage, after you cast out all the demons in your home, after you do all of these example setting things, you have one thing left to do, and that is to die.
Mhm.
Because you signed up for it when you became a husband. You signed up to die.
Mhm.
So now I know you took that whooping. Yeah, that was prophesied. You're gonna take this beating. You was gonna take, what does the beating look like? The beating looks like you're giving your best and it's still not appreciated. The beating looks like you're not able to take the kids where they want to go, and they're disappointed, so because they think they got a bad dad. The beating looks like the wife that says you'll never do anything for me, or you're not doing enough around this house. The beating looks like when society says, look at him, it's a shame how bad of a husband he is in their eyes, because maybe he only has the job at McDonald's and that's the best he can do right now, but he is the hardest worker at McDonald's. The beating comes in so many different forms, but you still got to get on this cross.
Mhm.
And I'm like, the hell you say? I got to get on the cross?
Me clutching my pearls.
You clutching your pearls? Clutch your pearls, baby.
I'm just
Clutch your pearls.
kidding.
And so I jump on the cross. I don't jump on the cross because I'm sorry. Nobody, hey, listen. If you find any believer out there who is gleefully skipping to the cross, know that it's a magic trick, because no one gleefully skips
No,
to the cross.
neither did Christ.
Yeah, so here I am getting on this cross. And he says, I need more. Okay, God. And nail number one goes in. And nail number two. Nail number three. I need more. Okay. All right. Why do you need me on the cross? Gosh, how God brings things full circle.
Mm-hmm.
In the Old Testament, they rose a serpent up on a stick as a symbol, and as people look to it, it could be healed.
Mm-hmm.
When we look to the cross of Jesus and the redemptive work of the cross, we look to it so that we can be healed.
Mm-hmm.
What's the number one complaint we have out here? Nobody taught me how to be a husband. You said you wanted to be an example. How can you be an example if you don't let me put you on the cross and raise you up?
Mm.
How can you be an example? Oh, Lord, you deep in your bag tonight, Lord. How can you be an example if I never get to lay you in the tomb when everyone counted it out, when people said, oh, that's the nail, the final nail in the coffin, their marriage is over because this joker finna wig out. How do you help other marriages if you never let me resurrect yours?
That's it. And then the woman, what do you always say?
Other marriages. And how is it that the wife has to be the first one at the tomb? You got to see this imagery. The wife has to be the first. That's why it's a woman that was the first at the tomb to report the good news. The wife had to be the first at the tomb to report the good news of the transformation of her husband.
Right. That's my man.
There it is. That's my man. Everything that he said was true. It didn't come the way we expected it. It didn't come in the timing we expected. But everything that God promised through him is going to come to pass. And the woman had to be the first one there to spread the gospel. It didn't come the way we expected it. That's what being a Christ husband is. But everything that God promised through him, that's what being a Christ husband is. And if you don't get that, if you don't understand that as a husband, like that crosswork. So when we talk about it, me and some of my guys, is like, listen, and when I say it to husbands, there are a lot of husbands that say, I'm not getting on that cross. I have had enough at the beating point and I ain't getting on the cross, and whatever gonna be is gonna be. And I'm like, okay. But here's the funny thing about not getting on the cross. Like that crosswork. The suffering doesn't stop because you didn't get on the cross. It's like, listen. And the sad thing about it is the suffering doesn't stop because you didn't get on the cross. And if one day you say, okay, God, I surrender, you're going to have to go back to the spot where you stopped. So you still got more suffering to do because you have to get on that cross. Suffering doesn't stop because you didn't get on the cross. Lord have mercy. Y'all better stop playing with God.
Pretty much. That's what I'd be saying. Lord have mercy.
Stop playing. Right. So that's what I've learned in 24 years. I would have loved to get on the cross a little bit earlier. Now, not love. Again, I'm not skipping to the cross. Yes. The other important thing that God recently taught me about the cross is God wrapped in flesh needed help toting the cross to Golgotha. What makes you think that you spirit wrapped in flesh that's not as powerful as God wrapped in flesh don't need some help toting the cross? That's why we have to have a brotherhood of husbands.
In therapy, in coaching, in counseling. Oh, okay.
All of that helps tote the cross. You're right. All of that helps tote the cross. Now, being the bride, right? Being a church bride, I don't know how I would write that, and I don't know that that's for me to write. But being a church bride, here's some important things for wives to understand. You don't get to just go and say, how great is our God, or how great is my husband, sing with me, how great. You don't get to do all of that without also getting some persecution. You don't get to just go and say, because you stood by him.
Right.
You don't get to go. You don't get to just go out without getting some persecution. And somebody say, like me and you talk or whatever, And I was telling you this other day about the roles because you've been on that role kick for a long time. But I said, babe, it's going to take you like saying it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like a cycle. At first, some people gonna look at you like you crazy. Oh, she just be this, she this, she weak woman, whatever. And you have to suffer the persecution. But you keep saying it. And then after a while, it's some people like, well, maybe it's working in her marriage and in her home. Maybe I should try to. And then you get some early adopters. And then you're gonna get some people that fake it. And then you're gonna get, and it builds momentum, right? But the first step of that the first step of spreading the gospel was persecution.
Right.
Right?
That's it.
And watch how it changed. Peter now went in there and got beat for preaching Jesus. Them boys walked out of there skipping. They said, I count it joy to have gotten this beating on Christ's behalf. Now, them first joking to them, first recorded history of somebody enjoying that beating. They got beat. But they said, I know we're on the right track because who set the standard? Right? As a husband, I have to set the standard for my home of sacrifice, of sacrificial love. As a husband, so yeah. Don't get me started. I'm
That's
done.
it. And women and brides, we have to respect that, or show you the respect, give you the respect.
And
And women and brides,
yes.
we have to respect that.
Here's what I'm going to ask a question.
Mm-hmm.
This word submission, what do women really think it means? Here's what I'm going to ask a question. I can tell you by their reaction what I think they think the word submit means. But what do you think submission really means?
I don't know. I think maybe just I have to do whatever my husband says when he says it, or he has the right to tell me, I don't know, how to live, how to be. Pretty much it's just like that overhead of telling me what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to live, how to be. Pretty much it's just
I think that when they hear that, when women hear submit, they hear slave.
They hear what now?
Slave.
Mm-hmm.
They hear slave.
Right. And I'm thinking, and I'm going back to kind of what we talked about last week, and even the wife thing, does the submitting part, and I don't know that. I guess it kind of, but don't make sense. Do you think submitting is when they say I have to cook and clean and wash clothes and take care of the kids and do all of those things? Because you're saying slave.
But I think that's what it is. I don't have any control over myself.
Yeah, no control.
Right. I have no control. So whatever he wants, that's what I got to do.
Right. I just got to lay down and take it.
I got to do whatever it is. I got to do that. And that's not, again, when I talk about resetting marriage, that's not what God is trying to, do, in my opinion. What God is trying to do. Oh my goodness. In my opinion. Man, I wish I was one of those that just knew every chapter and verse and where it is and didn't have to use Google.
Right. Does it, and I'm thinking now, I don't know if people think submit means I don't have a voice. A lot of times, and then I think for women, it's just a part of who we are a lot of times, where we don't think from where we came from in culture and history that we don't have a voice. And so it's like, oh, you telling me I got to do this and still not have a voice, or I don't have my voice. So I think a lot of times it's that you're offended because you're just like, submitting means I don't get a say so, or I don't get a voice.
Right. Let's go to 1 Peter 3:1. It says, wives, likewise, be submissive to your own husbands, that even if some do not obey the word, they, without a word, may be won by the conduct of their wives, when they observe your chaste conduct accompanied by fear. Right? When they observe your chaste conduct accompanied by fear. That word fear is translated in some translations the word respect. So when they may observe your chaste conduct accompanied by respect, right? So it says, but do not let your adornment be merely outward, arranging the hair, wearing gold, or putting on fine apparel. Rather, let it be the hidden person of the heart with the incorruptible beauty of a gentle, quiet spirit. Can I tell you that men look for that? Like, it's some women who have, they are the most gorgeous and they have the greatest body, but they have a horrible heart. They have a horrible heart, right? But it's in that personality. Don't. That's why, it used to be like, oh well, she got a good personality, and that's usually was a low key way of calling somebody ugly. But in reality, that great personality could draw a man away from his beautiful wife because it's like, you so understanding, you get it. I don't even understand. She don't even look like me. No, but she had that inner beauty that you didn't possess with your outward beauty. But it says this, rather let it be hidden person at heart with the incorruptible beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is very precious in the sight of God. For in this manner, in former times,
Excuse me.
for in this manner, in former times, the holy women who trusted in God also adorn themselves. I want you to hear what this is saying. Now I'm interested in what the message version says on this. But it says, I want you to hear what it says. It says, for in this manner, right? Because it's talking about the incorruptible beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is very precious in the sight of God. For in this manner, in former times, the holy women who trusted in God also adorned themselves, being submissive to their own husbands, as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord, whose daughters you are, if you do good and are not afraid with any terror.
The message version says, cultivate inner beauty, the gentle, gracious kind that God delights in. The holy women of old were beautiful before God that way and were good, loyal wives to their husbands. Sarah, for instance, taking care of Abraham, would address him as my dear husband. You will be true daughters of Sarah if you do the same, unanxious and unintimidated. You will be true daughters of
Right?
Sarah if you do.
You're not worried. You're not intimidated. I'm going to do this thing.
You're good with being you.
I'm
Who you
going
are.
to do this God's way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do this God's way. I'm going to be the wife that God calls me to be. Husband, I'm going to be the husband that God calls me to be. Right? I'm going to do this God's way. And because of the society we live in, a lot of that is so off base. A lot of it is so off base. And so I could talk about this for hours, but I just think about, 24 years coming up on 25, God continues to say the same. I just think about, I'm looking forward to just continuing to mature as a husband and helping other husbands do the same. Because there's a lot that we need to unlearn. Like, one of the things I want to get out of homes, and I want to get out of even husbands' mentalities, because we live by this, and this to me is the holdover of trying to be a perfect husband. Happy wife, happy life. That's garbage. Get out of your home. Get out of your home. Yep. Get it out of your home. Get it out. Back it out. Back it out of your home. Back it out. Back it out. Back it out of your home. Yeah. Yeah. Back that thing up. That's what I want you to do. And that's the thing. Because happy wife, happy life is a lie. Because what happy wife, happy life says is that the marriage is only about her.
I get what you're saying, but that's if that's the perspective, because I've heard a different perspective on that was really, really good and rooted in something else, and not saying so much that, but breaking down kind of what that means. Not so much they say, oh, I agree with this saying, happy wife, happy life, but breaking it down, not in the sense that I think it's put out there a lot. Oh, do whatever, make the wife happy, and your home gonna be happy, happy wife, happy life.
And that's how it's practiced. So no matter what is intended, that's how it's practiced. But here's the thing I will say. Back it up with scripture and I'll believe it. So no matter what is intended, that's in fact, Scripture says, "Man was not made for woman; woman was made for man."
Mm-hmm.
So if I do happy wife, happy life, then I was made to please her. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like
Right.
I'm digging into, because that's the thing I think we have to be careful. That's a worldview
Mm-hmm.
that's crept into godly marriages, right? And I want to make sure that we're, so even when we say, he who finds a woman or he who finds a wife, he who finds a, what is it? He who finds a wife finds a good thing and has favor with the Lord, right?
Has favor with the Lord. Yes.
Every woman celebrates the, I'm a
Favor.
good woman. I'm a good one. He found me. He found a good thing, right? God is saying to in this, hey, he who finds a wife finds a good thing and finds favor with the Lord, right? So when I find a wife, I find, let me put some emphasis. When I find a godly wife, right,
Mm-hmm.
I get favor with the
Happy
Lord
life.
by being a good, by being a good husband,
Right.
right?
Happy life.
By being a good husband. God is clear. You don't mistreat your wife. You want to get in trouble with me? Mistreat your wife,
Mm-hmm.
right? Son, you get tired of, go live on the rooftop. If she contentious, go live on the rooftop. If you find your husband out there living in the rooftop, you think I ain't got a problem with you, woman? Your husband shouldn't be on the rooftop,
Right.
right? Because if he on the rooftop, some submission ain't happening, some peace ain't happening in the home. And so I'm just saying, like,
You're right.
we are quick to sometimes take on things that are not rooted in the word as far as how things really go or should be.
Mm-hmm.
What
Agreed.
is the reality is happy marriage, happy life, right? Are we doing the things to bring true, you know what? Eve was happy eating that fruit. That did not lead to a happy life. The wife was happy, but they ain't lead to a happy life.
Was she? Did she say this was good afterwards?
I don't know what she said, but it said that when she saw it was good when she saw that it was good and pleasing to the eyes, she took it and she ate.
Mm-hmm.
So she thought it was good
She did.
till the consequences showed up. And the consequence didn't show up until he ate.
Mm.
She thought it was good.
She did.
Consequences didn't show up. Making his wife happy. Get me started. Right. Making his wife happy. I mean, Abraham making his wife happy, got Ishmael. Then once she got Isaac, she wanted to put throw there. He said, "It's your handmaid. Do what you want to do."
Right.
Oh my goodness! Right?
This was your idea.
Yeah.
Woman.
Yeah. Here's your idea. Jacob and Rachel and Leah. We hadn't talked about that marriage, and where Jacob had to go off on Rachel a little bit. Like, you act like I got something. Girl, I ain't firing no blanks. Look at Leah and all of the handmaids. This ain't me. Why you upset with me about it? I ain't firing no blanks. Need to go for the Lord. This ain't me. Right?
Right.
She wasn't happy. Right? Because she ain't had no kid. He couldn't make her happy. Right? I'm just saying, you know.
I know you just saying.
You know what I'm saying? Just saying. You know. Right? I'm just saying. All right, listen.
I hear what you're saying.
No, I'm just saying we just need to make sure that we root what we are saying in biblical based marriages true. And there may be something that scripturally backs that. I've not seen it. I only see the contrary. So anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Happy wife. No, I'm just I'm just kidding. No.
So no. I think that when we are happy within and then we let that leak out to each other, then it's better for all of us. Yeah. I definitely don't want to do anything that makes her contentious, so I got to get on the roof.
All right.
Now, I definitely don't need to be doing that, but yeah. So, all right.
All right.
Well, thank you all for joining us tonight. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Share it with a friend. Listen, if you would do us a favor, make sure you go right on over to YouTube, find at Marriage Refresh or Marriage Refresh. You'll find our YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, share. We'd appreciate that because we're getting ready to move more to YouTube, and you're going to have to start catching us on YouTube Live. But until then, we thank you. We praise God. And until next video, God bless.
God bless. We love you for real. We
out. Vows, sex, and housekeeping. Ain't no holding back. Let's talk. Ain't no secret. This is vows, sex, and housekeeping. Join the conversation. This is what you need, and come and stay a bit. We talking about love and relationships, keeping all your promises and